Welcome back. Patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, your one-stop shop for your gaming news. Of course, this airs 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturdays, on Patreon. Patrons get first crack. Then goes to the free feeds days later. It appears Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. To make sure you get the news first and foremost, make sure you go ahead and sign up for the Patreon if you are listening on the free feeds, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, iHeart, etc., etc. Of course, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson. Welcome back. We've got a few stories to go over, and then I'm going to go over the Nintendo Partner Direct for Thursday, July 31st of 2025. I actually just finished watching it about 10 minutes ago. And I generally record the show on Thursdays and then try to do other stuff on the other days of the week. But anyway, let's get down to business. Not our top story, but of course, this is grain of salt. We generally like to start with this. Remember to take all this with a grain of salt until we get actual confirmation. These are just rumors, and you should take them as such until we get confirmation. If you know anything about certain things, Drake never made release dates. I remember Thank Me Later got pushed back a little bit. Take Care got pushed back a little bit. Generally that happens because of sample clearances. Nothing Was the Same also got pushed back. A lot of other people have their release dates pushed back. Films get pushed back. The Michael Jackson biopic was supposed to come this spring, and we don't have a release date as of right now, so that's probably coming in 2026. Somebody else who happens to get their things pushed back and they never quite make the release date, and that's been for probably since Grand Theft Auto 4. Rockstar has not made the first release date they've given for a Grand Theft Auto game or Red Dead Redemption 2 since Grand Theft Auto 4. Well, we were supposed to get Grand Theft Auto 6 this fall, and apparently that's not going to happen. The delay came. They said May of 2026. They're going to do some more polishing, but they showed us a great new trailer when they released the information about the game being delayed, and then the website had all this information. Apparently, we are very close to another delay in Grand Theft Auto 6. Was earlier this year, again, Rockstar revealed that GTA 6 would unfortunately be delayed from fall of 2025 to May of 2026. However, a recent insider leak has claimed that we may have to wait even longer, as a second delay could be imminent. Originally planned to launch sometime in fall of 2025, Grand Theft Auto 6 has cemented itself as the most anticipated game release of all time. Well, the reason for that is social media is much more prevalent. It was a thing when Grand Theft Auto 5 released. Obviously, there was Twitter, there was Instagram, there was Facebook, Snapchat. You also have TikTok. That's for people. I don't tick or talk that much. I post some stuff here and there, but I don't do the dances or none of that shit. So once I started getting enough views, they're like, you can do live TikToks, and people are like, you should play video games in there. And I'm like, not exactly, not for the kid. But we have all these other social avenues. There are way more content creators now than there were when Grand Theft Auto 5 released in September of 2013. My daughter was 2 months old at that time. Just so to give you reference, she is now 12. Think about that. But that's why it's probably the most anticipated game of all time at the moment. I'm sure something will surpass that. More than likely, it would be another Rockstar title. Maybe Red Dead Redemption 3 or Grand Theft Auto 7. Who knows? It's just the anticipation will build, and it will become bigger as time goes along. There's going to be many more people using social outlets and having smartphones and things like that who will be connected to the ethos, as it were. As far as the apparent possible second delay, this is perhaps unsurprising considering that Grand Theft Auto has been a beloved franchise since the burst on the scene back in 1997. On top of that, it's been well over a decade since players received the latest entry in Grand Theft Auto 5. Whatever the case, Rockstar took to social media earlier this year to reveal that Grand Theft Auto 6 would now be released on May 26th of 2026. According to a reliable leaker, Millie A. So I am subscribed to Millie A's tweets. She apparently, when I got the notification that she had tweeted, there was a GIF and it was like, uh-oh. And I was like, what the hell did Millie tweet before this? And somebody's like, oh, Millie, you deleted it. Now I know what it is, apparently. According to Millie A., who has had some accurate industry guesses over the years, quote, internal talks suggest a possible slip to September, which would put it at 13 years. It will put it September of 2026, which put it at 13 years from the release of the last Grand Theft Auto. And again, that was Grand Theft Auto 5. Not only that, but they have also shared the potential prices for standard, deluxe, and premium bundle versions of the game. Standard edition $70, deluxe edition $90, includes early GTA Online access. Don't need that because I won't be playing online. Premium edition $110, includes first GTA Online access. Of course, all this information should be taken with a pinch of salt, but with many fans expecting another delay and these prices looking quite believable, it would not be too far fetched of a leak. With less than 10 months to go until Grand Theft Auto 6 is expected to launch, news of a delay could be imminent, but with the world's eyes on Rockstar, a second delay could make or break the highly anticipated release. Grand Theft Auto 6 is expected to launch on May 26th of 2026 for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S consoles. No PC launch at this time. And anybody who knows the history of Rockstar, generally the PC version of the game will come at a later date. Would this be detrimental if the game was to get delayed? No, it wouldn't. People are still going to pay for it. People are going to pay for it. They're going to be there day one. I, for one, will be there day one to play Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm not going to lie. The trailers look great. I am intrigued by it. They had 3 protagonists last time. Now it looks like we only have 2, which I'm perfectly fine with. But I'm very excited to play this. And of course, another reason I'm so excited to play this, they've already announced that Red Dead Redemption is a franchise that apparently will continue. So whether it'll be a whole new cast of characters, whether it's going to be a prequel to Red Dead 2, which would also be a prequel to Red Dead 1, which means they would be telling the story in reverse, I don't know. But the sooner they get Grand Theft Auto 6 out, they can start working on the next Red Dead Redemption game. So I'm 100% all for this at the moment. But as of always, you should take this with a grain of salt until we get actual clearance for this. In other news, we generally like to give you the PlayStation Plus monthly games of the month, as well as what's coming in Game Pass and what's leaving. PlayStation Plus monthly games for August: Lies of P, DayZ, My Hero 1's Justice 2, Battle Macabre, Puppets in a Twisted Souls-like take on well-known children's tale using your wits to survive sprawling maps, filled with threats and relive an iconic anime firsthand with PlayStation Plus monthly games. Lineup for August, again, that's Lies of P, DayZ, and My Hero 1's Justice 2 will be available to PlayStation Plus members on August 5th. Lies of P, it's the PS5 and PS4 versions, if you're questioning that. Souls-like draws its inspiration from an unlikely source, the adventures of Pinocchio, and this grim reimagining of Carlo Collodi's treasured tale. Pinocchio is trying to find the mysterious Mr. Geppetto. His journey takes him to Krat, a Belle Epoque-inspired city whose humanity has been lost to madness and killer puppets. Pinocchio must battle for survival using a range of weapons and swappable Legion arms with special abilities. He will also encounter non-hostile characters, but you will have to help him lie to fulfill his dream of becoming human. DayZ has been out long enough. I don't think I have to talk about that. It's the PS4 version. It's a hardcore survival game. Up to 60 players must strive to endure a post-apocalyptic world populated by frenzied, infected, and other survivors. Not as popular because of your other post-apocalyptic games, The Last of Us and other games of that ilk and nature. And My Hero 1's to Justice, over-the-top follow-up to the Smash 3D hit 3D Arena Fighter. My Hero 1's Justice makes its heroic debut. Make full use of character quirks as you clash head-to-head in epic battles across huge arenas. I would assume this, based on the logo and the name, I feel like this is part of the My Hero Academia series. I would assume. I don't know. And then it would be your last chance to add the PlayStation Plus games for July to your library. That would be Diablo 4, King of Fighters 15, and Jusant to your game library before those are gone. Nothing for July and nothing for August that I'm dying to play. So you guys have at it. I don't know. All right. Really quickly, we have details on the God of War series over at Amazon Prime. Remember, Amazon Prime knocked Fallout out the park. So Fallout was so good that I myself and a number of other people that I saw online that I've talked to who are not fans of the Fallout video game, the series inspired us to go back, download the game, and play it. I made it a little further this time. I didn't finish it, but the show was so good, it made me say, hey, maybe I was wrong about this game. And then I went and played it again. I was like, oh yeah, I was not wrong about this game. But they did a great job with the Fallout television series. So I'm sure the game, they definitely had to see some sort of a spike in the downloads and the playing of the game. Why wouldn't they handle Amazon? The funny thing is, obviously, Sony would be partnering with them on this, but The Amazon God of War series will adapt the Norse era games, so there will be God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, of course. Focuses on Kratos and Atreus. This is going to be very, very interesting. Show's tone will emulate the tone of the game, so it's going to be gory. Kratos is going to say boy a lot, I would assume, and Atreus is going to start to get hair on his little nuts and start challenging his father. So we'll see what happens there. Game director Cory Barlog is actively involved in the development of this television show. I hope he's doing more than what Neil did over at the Last of Us TV show, because that second season just didn't hit the mark. And yeah, I know they've got Intergalactic coming out, but it also feels like a lot of people saw the comments. I, for one, was just like, there was a while where I was just going, like, I think 2 or 3 weeks in a row where I was like, this is what they pissed me off with this week's episode. They rushed the first half of the season. Well, season 2 proper, but season 2 and 3 will encompass the second game in the series, but they rushed it. The stuff where Jesse was in love with the girl who was from a traveling group, I thought that was strange. Introducing new versions of the infected, I thought that was strange. Swapping out Dina and Tommy in Joel's death, I thought that was very strange. Abby telling Joel why she was killing him, I thought that was extremely strange and rushed. The big payoff was when we found out why Abby killed Joel. When you switch over to Abby after you played through Ellie's 3 days in Seattle, and it's like, oh wait, that's the hospital, and oh, she's related to this guy. Oh, now it makes sense. Now I get why she killed Joel. But no, they told you, like, she's like, I'm going to kill you, and this is why. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Like, Craig Mazin, as a writer for television, do you not understand a payoff? And do you not understand building the anticipation for the next episode? And not even the next episode, in this case, the next season. I thought that was very strange. So, hopefully Sony is much more involved here. I hope that Cory Barlog protects this property. I really do, because I felt like I didn't watch Chernobyl. I was never going to watch Chernobyl. I'm not going to go back and watch Chernobyl now. Pedro Pascal, phenomenal. Bella Ramsey has done great in other roles. That does not mean I'm going back to try to watch Game of Thrones again, because that show just does not work for me. The build was extremely slow. It ain't going to happen. I'm definitely not going to go watch Chernobyl now. I don't know. I feel like they trusted Craig Mazin with one of the golden goose of Sony PlayStation Studios first party IP. One of the greatest stories probably ever told in any fashion or medium. And Craig Mazin just gave us this garbled up, disgusting version of what the fuck he thought should happen in his head. And that's stupid, because it's just like when they make films out of comic books, and obviously the MCU, the DCEU, the films of our youth, all that stuff. It's like, why'd you change that? Because the source material is right there. Now, we found out why they changed things in the MCU, because I'm going off on a tangent. I'm going to wrap this up in a second. When comic book purchases started to die in the 90s, there were only certain kids still buying comics. Me and my friends, because we were fucking nerds. Still am, proudly. We're still buying comics. It was not a cool thing for a lot of other people. Comic books started to die. So in order to stay afloat, Marvel sold off the rights to their characters. Sony could have had everybody. Whoever was the head of Sony Pictures at the time said, nobody gives a fuck about Iron Man. Go back and make the deal for Spider-Man, and don't you come back until you have. He said that to somebody who worked under him at Sony Pictures. Universal got the Hulk and something else. Fox got the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. And then there were characters who were left behind that nobody really wanted. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, those guys. Basically, the Avengers helped truly build the MCU. There would be no MCU proper today without those characters, but nobody wanted them in the 90s. All right. It is paid off. But when they would make changes, I'd be like, why'd you do that? And then somebody was like, you have to remember, they don't own the rights. Like when they sent Hulk to Earth to warn Doctor Strange about Thanos. That's not what happened in the comic. It was Silver Surfer who was sent to Earth to warn Doctor Strange about Thanos coming. However, Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four were property of Fox at that time, and Disney had yet to make the acquisition, Fox 20th Century Studios. Had they made that acquisition, I'm pretty sure they would have sent Silver Surfer instead of the Hulk. But that's why. This is different. This is different. Bruce Straley created The Last of Us. Bruce Straley created that show. And while he left Naughty Dog before the game really, really took off, he wasn't initially credited in the first season of the show, like the first couple of episodes, and he went online and pitched a bitch about it, and they put his name in there. That's not the point. The source material, there's not 70 years of source material for The Last of Us like there is for Marvel Comics, right? Probably more than that. There's only, the first Last of Us game came out June of 2013. So there's only 12 years of source material, and they were developing the show second season, 21, 22, something like that. It doesn't matter. It's not the point. There's only so much runway there. You did not have to make these drastic changes. And it's like, oh, well, this is better for television. No, it wasn't. For the people who've never played the game, they didn't know what, either way. But a lot of them did complain, like, why is Ellie acting like this? Ellie's response to Dina when Dina told her she was pregnant in the game is way different than her response in the TV show. It's not even fucking like, oh, it's in the same ballpark. No, it's not in the same fucking league. It's not even the same sport. Not the same state, city, none of that shit. So I don't understand why they made such drastic changes to the show. That really pissed me off. But anyway, getting back to the God of War television show, I apologize. Again, Cory Barlog is actively involved, thank God. 2 seasons are greenlit thus far. Season 1 is 10 episodes. Scripts are still being written. Filming will begin in 2026 at the earliest. Norse mythology, nobody owns that, so this should be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to play these characters. Remember, this is not a spoiler because God of War Ragnarok came out in 2023. Or was it 22? It was 22. I'm sorry. Spider-Man came out in 23. The question is, who's going to play Thor when the big bad shows up, right? Who's going to play Baldur? A lot of these characters, I'm like, who's going to play Kratos himself and who will play young Atreus? And will Angrboda show up? Who will play Angrboda? These are going to be very, very key moments for this show, and I need them to nail this correctly. I don't need another mishap like The Last of Us Season 2. I'm not saying Season 2 was a failure, but the viewership was down. If we're rating it out of a scale to 10, for me, like 5.5, maybe 6, and that's actually kind of being generous. I'm not gonna lie. But we shall see what happens when we cross that bridge. In other news, this is very, very interesting and upsetting. This comes from thegamer.com. And a rather interesting twist, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the 2023 Nintendo Switch exclusive, is seemingly unplayable on the recently released Nintendo Switch 2 after a firmware update. It's the latest development in what has quickly become a rather controversial situation with Switch 2 owners who prefer physical games media. As first reported by Games Radar, the organization, quote, Does It Play, has discovered that Nintendo has seemingly disabled offline playability for Wonder following Switch 2's latest firmware update, 20.2.0. Other first-party games seemingly work, save for Super Mario Wonder. This tweet from this is a Blue Sky, so I don't know what the hell you call it at that point. Nintendo crossed the line. Our findings show they have the power to retroactively block legally bought physical games from working without updates, and they did so multiple times following the introduction of the Trojan Horse game key card. This is another attack on physical media. That was tweeted out July 24th of 2025 at 11:42 a.m. from doesitplay.org. Actually, their Blue Sky page. I am only playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition right now because I'm playing that over on Patreon. Again, if you're listening to this on free feeds, you should subscribe to see those episodes. That's not the point. You cannot do this to Super Mario Brothers. Of all fucking games, you can't do this to Super Mario Brothers. Number 2, you can't brick our games. Now, what if I didn't know that this story was out there and I felt like, oh, I want to play Super Mario Wonder. And I wouldn't put the game in my Switch 2 and it didn't work. You know how fucking upset I would be? Because I would be like, what the fuck happened to my Switch 2? Now, thank God this article exists. I wouldn't have flipped out because I would have quickly went to the internet and did a quick Google search and be like, oh, so it ain't just me. Not just me. But this is fucked up. In a follow-up post to the Blue Sky, the group, which aims to report on whether a game can be played completely offline without the need for any sort of additional downloads, said Nintendo crossed the line. Interestingly enough, this isn't the first Switch 2 related game story involving Nintendo and unstated communication to happen this week. Earlier this week, a Switch 2 user found out firsthand that Nintendo can and will revoke a game that has been bundled with the system. They learned that after returning their system, which was bundled with Mario Kart World, that the new system wouldn't let them download the game outright. Interesting. Instead, they were required to go to the settings menu to claim back the game that they had purchased with the system. That's because the game is seemingly tied to the console itself and not your actual user account. So, I got the Mario Kart World bundle myself. So that means if I get another Switch 2, I don't own the game? Is that what they're saying? Like, I own it on this console here, but if I was to get another one, I can't play the game. That's unless I do the game key card. The game share, I forget what it's called. It doesn't matter. Again, not tied to the actual user accounts, making all things all the more confusing when it comes to ownership. Throw in the whole game key card situation, and things have not been exactly smooth. Some of the comments, my first thought was, oh no, I'm not able to play Super Mario Wonder now. Then I went over to my Switch 2, checked that I have the same version of firmware, undocked the Switch 2, put it in airplane mode, and loaded the game. Worked fine. They edited that comment and said, okay, it seems that the key problem here is that they're using the cart and refusing to let it download an update that was released right before the Switch 2 came out, and that's what's making it not work. So they can play the original cart in a Switch 1 with no update or need to download an update for Switch 2, but they don't like either of those options they're given. Someone else says, I don't play Mario Wonder. It wouldn't affect me. Those who do play will be mad for once. I agree. I don't like the Nintendo company. Their anti-consuming company wants to be greedy. That is why I'm not a Nintendo fan. Everybody's anti-consumer at this point, if y'all are saying that. This is bad. It's not terrible, but it is bad. I will say that. They have got to figure this out. They have got to figure this out. But we're only in... Oh, God. Like I said, I'm recording this Thursday, July 31st. We're month 2 of the console. We won't hit... no, we won't officially hit month 2 till August the 5th, because it came out June 5th. So you're going to have bumpy roads. If y'all remember early in the life of the PlayStation 5, if you put it in rest mode, it would, like, your games wouldn't save. Like, you would save your game and then put the console in rest mode, and then you'd come back and try to play it, and your save wouldn't be there. It was something about putting the console in rest mode. This happens on new hardware, and then they patch it. So I'm not going to go screaming to the mountaintops right now, because this is going to be patched. I don't know when, but it's going to be patched. Consoles in the first year do have issues. They do. The Series X and S in the first year, a lot of games didn't run exactly well. I think the Series X, the dashboard, the home screen, that wasn't in 4K. People pitched a bitch about that. I know these seem like little things, but these are things people were complaining about. There were no folders in year 1 of the PlayStation 5. It still doesn't have themes. It didn't have themes until you got the PlayStation 30th anniversary thing, and they put those out, and they were like, these are only for a limited time, and everybody bitched, and then they brought them back. Things are going to change. Things are going to be patched. If you remember what the dashboard of the PS3 and the PS4 looked like when they launched versus the end of the system's life cycle, completely different. The Xbox One, the Xbox 360 at the beginning of their life cycle versus the end, very different. The Xbox One at the beginning of its life cycle was the Microsoft Tiles thing, because that's what they were doing in Windows at the moment. And it looked very different by the end of that being the main console for the Xbox brand. So these things will change. It's going to change. However, when we're talking about the PlayStation and PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles, we are in the latter half of those consoles' life cycles. This is the beginning of the Nintendo life cycle. If Nintendo Switch 2 was a baby, the baby's like discovering that it has hands and feet at the moment. That's what's going on. So it's not a huge, gigantic deal. It is kind of a big deal. It is kind of a big deal. Luckily, this did not happen. All of these bugs, or the greater portion of them, need to be ironed out before we get to November. And the reason I say that is because the biggest shopping day of the year is Black Friday, and then you have Cyber Monday. A lot of people are going to take advantage of those days, and they're going to buy consoles, provided the tariffs don't really fuck up the prices all that bad. But you want to have that shit ironed out before we get to the holiday season, because that's where you expect to sell your most consoles. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm usually right, though. And I know I'm right on this one. Just saying. In other news, this comes directly from the PlayStation blog. New details on PlayStation's first wireless fight stick. It is now called Flex Strike. Project Defiant gets an official name. It's a special time of the year for fighting game fans and competitors gearing up for the Evolution Championship Series, aka EVO, in Las Vegas this weekend. To kick off this exciting week, we are pleased to share new images and the official name for Project Defiant, which is now called Flex Strike wireless fight stick. It still looks amazing. As announced during the 2025 June State of Play, Flex Strike is the first fight stick controller designed by Sony Interactive Entertainment, compatible with PS5 or PC via wire connection or wirelessly with PlayStation Link. Innovative ultra-low latency wireless technology, Flex Strike fight stick features mechanical switch buttons and a toolless swappable restrictor gates. These include a square, circle, and octagon restrictor gates that fit into the fight stick's built-in storage compartments. That's right, I forgot it had the storage compartment. That's cool. Alongside the included PS Link USB adapter, players can easily and securely transport the fight stick and all of its components, as the included USB-C cable and more, to a local fight night, a friend's house, or a tournament with the included sling carry case, and stay ready to play with the built-in rechargeable battery. Nice. Additional features that players can expect from PlayStation's first fight stick: simultaneously PlayStation Link audio on PS5. The Flex Strike wireless fight stick offers a seamless fighting game experience. Players can use a single PS Link USB adapter to connect the Flex Strike wireless fight stick and a Pulse at least wireless headset or Pulse Explorer wireless earbuds simultaneously on PS5. Again, for ultra low latency audio and voice chat experience in the heat of battle. Flex Strike wireless fight stick will feature an updated PlayStation Link USB adapter that is compatible with USB-C ports. Obviously, it's going to be a faster connection. Dual Flex Strike wireless fight stick connections on PS5 connect two Flex Strike wireless fight sticks via a single PS Link USB adapter for couch, competition, or co-op. Durable and ergonomic design, the Flex Strike wireless stick features a unique ergonomic design with a comfortably angled surfaces and a non-slip base for a firm foundation. It also has high-quality custom design digital stick. DualSense controller connectivity. You can keep your DualSense wireless controller on PS5 connected at the same time as the Flex Strike wireless fight stick if you'd like to use it as an additional controller for navigating menus between fights. Adjustable controls and DualSense inputs. Flex Strike wireless fight stick features the same game control inputs found on the DualSense controller, plus a touchpad. There's also additional customization options. You can switch directional inputs with a built-in lever mode switch, or lock in the layout and prevent accidental inputs during a match with a dedicated lock button. For players who choose to connect just the Flex Strike wireless fight stick to their PS5, a quick press of the PS button can also wake the connected PlayStation 5 console once synced. At EVO 2025 in Las Vegas from August 1st to the 3rd, Flex Strike wireless fight stick will also be on display only for the first time. Visit the Fight Stick Museum and Arc System Works booth for a first look at the fight stick and includes sling carrying case. Flex Strike wireless fight stick arrives in 2026. Stay tuned to the PlayStation blog for more details and visit PlayStation.com/Flex Strike to sign up for the latest email updates about the upcoming controller. In small print, display unit does not reflect final product design, which is subject to change. Directional pad controlled with lever and mute button not included. I assume it's going to look somewhat close to this, but this may not be the final retail design. This little sling carrying case is nice, though. I will say that. It also looks like a slim PlayStation 5, not the exact form factor, but where it has the diagonal line through the middle. It's like, oh, that reminds me of a PlayStation 5 Slim. So, yeah, that's that. Depending on the price, I hope to get my hands on one of these. We shall see. In other news, in today's Daily Fix from the good folks over at IGN, this was very, very not interesting, but it's like, I get it, but at the same time, I can see why he would want to play it. Anyway, looks like there's still some bad blood between gaming auteur Hideo Kojima and his former employers at Konami. Go fucking figure, right? In an interview with since Kojima was asked if he was going to play the upcoming remake of his Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, titled Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta, he replied no. Kojima and Konami, of course, had a falling out during the development of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I think I want to say it came out in like September of that year. Before the release, generally every Metal Gear Solid game after a certain point said, actually, I think every Metal Gear Solid game said, I think Metal Gear, the early ones did not say it, but every Metal Gear Solid game said a Hideo Kojima game. They took that branding off. They took the Kojima Studios branding off. When they won an award at the Game Awards that year, Konami would not let Kojima come on stage with them to accept the award. Jeff Keighley and the founder and head of the Game Awards and now Summer Game Fest, he has a really good relationship with Kojima. So the following year, he invited Hideo Kojima on stage to accept an award and stuff like that. But yeah, the Phantom Pain, it does not say a Hideo Kojima game. That PT demo was out too. Remember, that was on the PlayStation 4 where it was revealed that, like, we didn't know what it was. It was just called PT. And if you got to the end of the demo, the guy turned around and it was Norman Reedus, and it was the new Silent Hill game. And then once the falling out happened with Kojima and Konami, they deleted that. You could not download it on the PlayStation Store. If you go through, like, I still have my PS4 Pro. It's actually right behind me. If you go to your games in your library on there, the game is there, but if you deleted it, you cannot re-download it, and it has like the little censor thing on it where you can't download and play it. That's how bad the situation was. Needless to say, we have not gotten Metal Gear Solid 6, nor a new Silent Hill game. We got a remake of Silent Hill 2, and obviously Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. But we have not gotten new entries into the series. As for him not playing the game, I can see if you were spurned that badly that you'd be like, no, fuck them. There's no way I'm playing that shit. Fuck them. But keep in mind, it's a 1-to-1. It's just a full remake. It's using the same audio. I would have to imagine, obviously, they changed the controls to modernize them and stuff like that. But the game is following his game beat by beat. It doesn't deviate. It's just visually much more stunning, running on new hardware with an SSD, and the characters look amazing. Is it still his game? Yeah, there's a foundation of his game in there. They just altered the title, and it's running on newer hardware, and it's a better version of his game. If this was me, I would play it. I don't give a fuck. I'd play it. Fact of the matter is this. The IP itself belonged to Konami, so he's not going to see any money off of this, which is fucked up. But if it was me and I were Kojima, yeah, I would definitely play it. I wouldn't care that much. I don't. If you steal the IP from me, that's one thing. But Metal Gear existed before Kojima started developing primarily for Metal Gear, so let's keep that in mind. But if it was me, I'd probably play the game. And to be completely honest with you, if you're petty enough, you boot up the game and be like, all right, could they do it better than me without me? Because remember, Konami doesn't even really develop games anymore. They outsource this game for development. And they obviously also outsourced Silent Hill 2 for development. So they don't have any in-house development anymore. They're making like pachinko or Coleco machines or some shit like that. They got into like Japanese gambling. So I don't know, but his beef wouldn't be with Bloober. I think Bloober Team did Silent Hill 2 remake. I don't know, and I forget who's. Let's see. Let's just do a quick Google search because I don't want to be saying shit. Metal Gear. Let's see who is developing. Developer. It says Konami's the developer. That's not accurate. That's Konami's not developing this game. Really? Original game developed by additional development by Virtuous. I think Virtuous did a lot more than just assisting on the development. Konami is not directly developing this game. I don't know why they're sitting here lying about that. Silent Hill 2 Remake. That came out October 8th of last year. Developer Bloober Team. So it was Bloober Team that did that. But yeah, if it was me, I'd play it. Not gonna lie. Not going to lie. In other news, the patch notes out for the Switch 2 update. This kind of goes back to the earlier story about the game. System updates are still going out for Nintendo Switch 2 and Switch, and now version 20.3.0 is live. Firmware is rolling out for both systems now. Keeping in line with most updates, more stability improvements have been implemented, at least at the moment. That's all Nintendo is saying. General system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. Version 20.2.0 only came out for both systems a couple of weeks ago. This also features stability improvements, though there were a couple of bug fixes as well. One thing we'll point out is Nintendo's patch notes aren't always comprehensive. For example, the previous firmware, we discovered that over 20 Nintendo Switch 1 games have been fixed on Switch 2 for backwards compatibility after installing the update. So yeah, they have patch notes. I'm not going to go over them. A couple of tidbits about the latest firmware update not covered in the patch notes. The web browser was updated. We're also hearing that at least one of the changes made seems to be a security-related bug fix. So there you go with that information. But again, Super Mario Wonder not running, so I don't know. And then we're going to come back around to this, which we started the show off with. This comes from GamesRadar.com. It's rumors of a 30 frames per second GTA 6 begin to swirl. Rockstar Games veteran says, quote, you might prefer the visual details offered by a lower frame rate anyway. It's a trade-off. I didn't realize we were, quote, expecting to hit 60 frames per second. Well, that was what they talked about at the beginning of this generation when they tried to sell us on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X because we didn't know the Series S was a thing, or we thought it was a thing. We just didn't think it would be a lesser version of the hardware. And I can say that because I own both a Series X and a Series S. We didn't think it was going to be a lesser version. We thought it was going to be a smaller version of the Series X without a disk drive. No lie, that's what we thought. Anyway, GTA 6 is going to be an impressive game. Just looking at the newest GTA 6 trailer with reveal the likes of realistic bear, wildly detailed character models, individually modeled grass, and most importantly, according to GTA 5-star Ned Luke, the asses are realistic. Okay. Rockstar Games' attention to detail is second to none, and it looks even more breathtaking than the already wildly good-looking Red Dead Redemption 2. And that's why I have faith in Rockstar Games. People are like, you really think it's going to be that good? I was like, okay, well, when's the last time you played RDR2? Tell me that. Because that is one of my favorite games of all time. Again, I own it on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. So you know how I feel about Red Dead Redemption 2. It is part of the Trifecta series. What I call the Trifecta series is something that I love, a medium that I love so much that I bought it multiple times on multiple platforms. For instance, The Blueprint by Jay-Z. I own the vinyl, I own the iTunes version, and I still own the CD. Final Fantasy VII, the original, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Red Dead Redemption 2, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. If it comes to Switch, I'm buying it there too. So these are things I've spent. Even Drake's Take Care album, I bought it on iTunes, I own the CD, and I own the vinyl. There are certain things that I will buy in every platform that it's available. Every single one. I have Kendrick Lamar's GNX on vinyl and the iTunes version. I still need to get the actual physical CD, but that's how much I love that album. That's how much I love that album. Anyway, and other albums, but that's not the point, neither here nor there. Back to the article, I'm sorry. However, with visuals that good, frame rate is coming into question. Will current-gen consoles be able to handle that level of fidelity and still hit that 60 frames per second sweet spot? A former Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 animator thinks the game will run at 30 on consoles, while Digital Foundry's Richard Ledbetter previously thought that even the PS5 Pro would struggle to hit 60 frames per second in GTA 6. Vermage, who worked on the industry-defining masterpiece Space Station Silicon Valley and also some of the GTA things, specifically the PS2 trilogy, PSP games, and GTA 4 before leaving Rockstar in 2009, was asked about the rumors of a 30 frames per second GTA 6 on Twitter, and why it'd be so difficult for the game to hit 60 frames per second on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Someone says, hey, Ob Vermege, in your opinion, why is it so difficult for GTA 6 to reach 60 frames per second on base consoles, or is it actually possible? He replied, "It's a trade-off. At 30 frames per second, you can render twice as many polygons compared to 60 frames per second. For a competitive action game, you'd also always go for the higher frame rate, but for GTA, you might prefer the visual details." Make note that they don't mention the PS5 Pro. We had that story. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I can't remember, where apparently Sony was helping Rockstar out to get the game running at 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 Pro. And there was supposed to be a PlayStation and Rockstar marketing deal, and there were going to be GTA 6 bundles of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, there were Red Dead Redemption 2 bundles of the PlayStation 4 Pro, so I would not be surprised if this happens. However, on the PlayStation 4 Pro, you can prioritize performance or visuals. A lot of people cannot tell you the difference between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second, and you can't tell on every single game. Shooters, fighting games, some racing games, you can tell. You can tell. A lot of your ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill shit, Madden, 2K, Madden, NCAA football, 2K, a lot of those games you can't really tell because it's a simulation, but you're not running as fast as fucking Tyreek Hill would run. You're not crossing over the computer as quick as Kyrie Irving would. So 60 frames per second doesn't really matter all that much in sports simulation games, especially not in Major League MLB The Show. I'll be honest with you about that. Again, it's a trade-off from each. Says adding a 30 frames per second, you can render twice as many polygons compared to 60 frames per second, considering the level of visual fidelity already seen in GTA 6. That's clearly something that's important to Rockstar. From each adds, quote, for a competitive action game, you always go for the higher frame rate, but for GTA, you might prefer the visual details. Of course, with a game as big as GTA 6, I'm sure the frame rate isn't the top priority for a majority of people who will play it, and there's likely going to be a classic late release PC version to count on later down the line, which we know is coming. Comments: GTA has always had okay visuals that were more than made up for by the enormous scope of their games relative to their time. Someone else says GTA was never known for visual fidelity anyway, and GTA 6 doesn't look visually great anyway. It looks okay. This person's lying to their fucking teeth. Because either you need glasses or contacts and you don't wear them, or you're just lying. There isn't a trailer that's come out in the past year that we know is going to look like the game better than GTA 6. If you go back and look at some of those Red Dead 2 trailers, that's pretty goddamn close to the final version of the game. The Tony Dark, whoever you are a liar, sir. A liar. Someone else says easy solution: buy a PC, you get what you pay for. Tony Dark said that's not a solution for all. I mean, I have multiple gaming PCs, but rather play on console any day. Someone says, you can run HDMI from your computer to a TV. This Tony Dark person's lying. You have multiple gaming PCs? Are they all high end? You're a liar, sir. You're a fucking liar. Slower frame rate. Someone says, trust me, being an owner of a PS5 Pro, I still always choose performance mode on every game in almost every single circumstance. The visual changes are frankly unnoticeable. That's a lie. That is a lie. My very first day with my PlayStation 5 Pro, I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm in the great dining hall, and it's like, oh, this looks nice. When I turned on the PS5 Pro visual fidelity mode, the goddamn floor, you could see your reflection in the floor. I'm not fucking kidding. So he's lying. He's lying. He says visual changes are frankly unnoticeable. In the instances where they are more noticeable, better optimization would have allowed the noticeable differences to be available even in performance mode. Same frames per second as older generation consoles. Quit defending this nonsense. If it's not at least a stable 60 frames per second, that will be the final nail in the coffin for me if the $100 price tag wasn't already. There's been no confirmation of a $100 price tag, not for the standard version of GTA. People care about textures and shadows. Vast majority of people don't care if a dog's butthole has ray tracing and volumetric lighting, or the liquid in a bottle actually decreases when a random NPC drinks it. Some people care about that stuff. Stable 30 is perfectly fine. You play for a couple minutes and then you don't even notice. Michael Bednarski says, in a world of 4K, 120 frames per second capable devices, I didn't realize we were expecting it to hit 60 frames per second is not an acceptable response today. That'll be the selling point of PS6 Pro and the Xbox Millennia, I'm sure. Hardigan, I wasn't going to buy this game anyway. Well, why are you commenting, dumbass? Fucking idiot. Rick says there is no excuse for 30 frames per second on modern consoles. None. Rick, try working in gaming. Try working on optimization and you tell me. Chris says the internet's getting worse. I'm sure everyone would agree. Insane graphics and unlimited frames per second would be awesome. However, as quality and resolution goes up, frame rates come down. I assume there will be a settings page so you can adjust the levels to reach the quality frames per second balance you prefer. Seems rather weird rather than being excited about a game people seem to take more. Y'all saying you won't play a 30 frames per second game in 2025 are right. You'll be playing it in 2026. This person's got it. While you frames per second snobs are having your little pity party sitting in every empty server lobbies in your usual games, everyone else will be playing GTA 6 and you'll eventually give in and play 2. Let's be real. And this person, I'm not going to read anymore because this is the best comment there is. People can say whatever the fuck they want. A lot of people have this big FOMO thing. They don't want to miss out. They have a fear of missing out. And you don't want to be the only idiot in your Discord server, or on your Twitter timeline, or on your Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, wherever the fuck, who is not playing Grand Theft Auto 6. This person has the best comment. You don't want to miss out. If you are a gamer and you tell yourself, I'm not going to play GTA 6, then that means either you've never played a Grand Theft Auto game or you have and you just don't care for them. But if you've played them, you're going to be playing this game. So don't lie to yourself. Just stop fucking lying, idiots. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, of course, as promised, the Nintendo Switch 2 Partner Direct was today. I didn't go into in full detail. Some of the stuff I'm going to play, a lot of it I'm not going to fucking play. I'm not going to lie to you. First game shown, Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. That is coming 2026, Nintendo Switch 2. It's not something, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, so you know I'm not playing this one, but that's coming next year. A new Katamari Damacy game, as if I give a fuck. Once Upon a Katamari. You play through different periods of history, online multiplayer, and that's coming to Switch October 24th of 2025. Pre-orders are up on the eShop. Just Dance 2026 edition. Guess what? We have one of the Just Dances in here. It's for my daughter's Switch. I've never played it, and I don't plan on playing it. Anyway, 2026 edition is coming. 40 new tracks featuring Bruno Mars, Dua Lipa. Not a Dua Lipa fan. Bruno Mars is dope, though. More artists. New co-op party mode. That's October 14th. 2025 on the Switch, of course. Pre-order on the eShop now. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, over 180 fighters, coming November 14th, 2025 on Switch and Switch 2. Pre-orders are live on the eShop. This one I will be playing. Plants vs. Zombies Replanet with co-op and local PvP coming to the Switch and Switch 2 October 2nd. Switch 2 October 23rd of 2025. Pre-orders are live on the eShop. EA Sports FC 26 coming to the Switch and Switch 2 September 26, 2025. They showed the Switch 2 version. I gotta say, I'm actually kind of impressed. I'm not gonna buy it on there, but I'm kind of impressed. Pac-Man World 2 Repack with local co-op on Switch and Switch 2 September 26, 2025. Pre-orders, of course, live on the eShop. Final Fantasy Tactics, The Invalid Chronicles, fully voiced, of course, new difficulty options, and more. That comes September 30th, 2025 on the Switch and Switch 2. Pre-orders, of course, live on the eShop. Persona 3 Reload coming to Switch 2 on October 23rd, 2025. Pre-orders live on the eShop. Again, that's only coming to Switch 2. It's not coming to the original Switch. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment trailer. Still no release date. Just winter window. Just a winter or release window. I wasn't going to play it in the first place. I bought Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, and it gave me a terrible headache. I've not gone back to play a Warriors game, whether it's Dynasty or Hyrule. Some people say it was probably a frame rate because the Wii U had a terrible frame rate. To be completely honest with you, not really interested in finding out. Those games will stay where they will. They will not be played by Derrick. EA Madden 26, not going to lie, this does not look bad for a Switch 2 title. But of course, I will be playing it on the PlayStation 5. We were standing in line to get our Switch at GameStop, and everybody's like, what are you going to play? What are you going to play? I'm like, I'm playing Nintendo first-party stuff. They're like, you're not going to play this? You're not going to play that? Somebody was getting Street Fighter 6. I'm like, I have a PlayStation 5, I have a Series X, and I have a PC. You're not going to get it for the Switch? I'm not playing multi-platform games on a Switch. I'm telling you that right the fuck now. My Switch and my Switch 2 are for Nintendo first-party game. The only multi-plat game I'll be playing on my Switch 2 is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Why? Because I love Final Fantasy VII. That's why. But again, that releases August 14th of 2025 on Switch 2. Pre-orders are live now in the eShop. Chilling by the Fire by Oink Games. It's a campfire simulation game. It's a no. Compatible with a USB camera so you can see your friends sitting around the campfire as well. Nope, not for me. Anyway, Chilling by the Fire is available on the Switch 2 now. I don't know. Never mind. I'm not gonna go there. Simulation games are getting like out of hand. I know that sports are like, well, sports games are simulation. That's true, but like Power Washer Simulator, Goat Simulator, like Farming Simulator. There's so many simulator games. It's fucking crazy. Apex Legends is coming to Switch 2. Battle Royale and mixtape modes, so that's cool. It is coming August 5th, 2025 with the new season. So if you're listening on the free feeds, that is available as of today. So, you know. Gila. 4 players online co-op coming to Switch 2026. I don't remember exactly what this was. I do have in my notes that it looks like, but it looks nice, but it's actually not my kind of game. Aesthetically, it did look nice though. This one really blew me away. Not blew me away in a good way, but blew me away like, why would they do this? I have said in this episode and other episodes before, I am not playing multi-platform third-party games on a Switch or Switch 2. If it comes on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or S or on PC, I'm going to play it on one of those 3 places. I'm not playing it on a goddamn Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. Let me be very fucking clear about that. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars Outlaws coming to Switch 2. It looks like a PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 game. I'm not fucking kidding. It is a drastically different looking game from the version that we see on the Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC. This is running on Switch 2 hardware. It's coming to Switch 2 on September 4th of this year. Pre-orders, of course, are live on the eShop. This game, if you go back and find the trailer for this game running on Switch 2, if nothing else will tell you, hey, you probably shouldn't play multi-plat games on the Switch 2 if they're available elsewhere, this trailer will definitely show you that. Like, resolution looks terrible. The character models look terrible. They literally look like it looks like early PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 stuff. Like the first, actually the first Uncharted game looks better than this. Maybe like the first couple of Assassin's Creed games. Like, it looks like that. Chronos: The New Dawn is coming to Switch 2 September 5th of 2025. Not for me. Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza Kiwami 2 are both coming to Nintendo Switch 2 November 13th of 2025. There is a digital bundle that includes both games. I tried Yakuza. I think it was on Game Pass at some point. It had to be, because I wouldn't have paid for it outright without being into the series or something like that. Game Pass has its perks where you can try games and be like, hey, this ain't for me. And I think that when PlayStation Plus added that trial feature and added games to their streaming library and download library, this is another plus. I'd rather pay for the subscription than buy a game that I'm never going to play. Because I remember buying the first Destiny, and like, because all my friends hyped me. They're like, no, we're going to play all these. Like, okay, whatever. And I played that fucking game. I was like, no, I got screwed out of $60. And I had never played an online MMO at that point, ever. And that was the first one I played. And I was like, nah, I don't like this. I don't even like that many people. So me playing online with a bunch of people, not the greatest idea, unless they were really good friends of mine. But yeah, this just ain't for me. That wasn't for me. So, but I do remember trying Yakuza via Game Pass. And look, so the Yakuza is basically like the Japanese mafia. So they show the dude in the trailer fighting, and he's got the motherfucker by the legs, spinning him around. And my first thought was like, if y'all don't get this Three Stooges shit out of here, if you get into a fight with the Yakuza and a motherfucker goes to grab your legs and swing you around, rest assured that it's not really the fucking Yakuza. I'll tell you that right now. Right fucking now. And if it is, we've all been lied to our entire lives about the Yakuza. They then had a sizzle reel. Just kind of ran off a few games really quickly. Goodnight Universe, Switch and Switch 2, November 11th of this year. NBA Bounce, where you can play as the mascots. They started with Benny the Bull. And as a Bulls fan and a Lakers fan, I thought it was weird that they would start with Benny the Bull because the Bulls have not been great. They've been middle of the road good at some point. There was the year, I think it was '04, Ben Gordon and a bunch of those guys. It was like, yo, where the fuck did they come from? Um, there were the early Derrick Rose years where it's like, oh shit, we got some Derrick Rose, Luol Deng, Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson. Very good team. And then fucking Tom Thibodeau put Derrick Rose out there in the fourth quarter of a playoff game where we were up huge on the Sixers, and he tore his ACL, and then he tore the other knee at some point. He just was never the same. But I just thought it was funny that they started the trailer for this with Benny the Bull. Of all, like, if I'm gonna, the game is called NBA Bounce. So if I'm promoting a game about the NBA and Bounce is in the title, I'm thinking dunk. If I'm talking dunks and mascots, why the fuck would you not use the Phoenix Suns gorilla? And furthermore, why the fuck is a gorilla the mascot for the Phoenix Suns? I've always wondered that. Always wondered that. It's not the point. Anyway, NBA Bounce is coming to the Switch. Only the Switch, not the Switch 2. September 26th of 2025. However, most Switch games work on the Switch 2. I would assume this one would. Who the fuck knows? Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Wheat Flower Wonderland. It's a fucking mouthful, ain't it? That's coming to the Switch fall of 2025. Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven, Switch 2 available today. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, Switch August 29th, 2025, of course. Demo is available on the Switch, the eShop right now. Borderlands 4, Switch 2, October 3rd, 2025. Pre-order store today. I assume that's the release for all platforms. I don't know because I tried Borderlands and I hated it. It's another game that people are like, how could you not like Borderlands? Simple. I don't fucking like it. Like, what are we talking about? It's not that fucking hard. It's not that hard. So then Square Enix ended the show and I was like, okay. They're like, hey, we have two more. Before you go, we got two more games for you. And then you see Square Enix pop up and I was like, oh, okay. So we're going to get the release date for Final Fantasy VII Integrate on Switch 2. Wrong. Brand new HD 2D action RPG from Square Enix, The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales. That is coming to Switch 2 in 2026. There is a debut demo available now. I'm actually going to head over to the eShop when I finish up here and check that out because it looked kind of interesting. There is a post-play survey coming out at a later date. I guess Square Enix is going to start listening to the fans and what it is that we want in games. It's very interesting. I think they listened to the fans and they said that like 3 million sold on the PlayStation 5 early for Final Fantasy 16 was not a good return on their investment. So they released it on the Xbox Series X and S consoles and they only sold 70,000 copies. After those Team Green people, I have all these consoles, but these people who primarily only play on Xbox consoles were like, this is bullshit, and they fuck Square Enix and fuck Sony for money had in games and this, that, and the third. And a lot of them are like, well, if it ain't in Game Pass, I ain't playing it. And they showed. They've conditioned people to not buy games. And this little experiment, this is not going to be good. Final Fantasy 16 does not have the cachet that Final Fantasy 7 does. If Final Fantasy 7 doesn't sell like fucking crack in the 80s on the Switch 2, that's going to be I'm sorry, not on the Switch 2, on the Xbox Series consoles, that's going to be a problem. Because then Square Enix is going to look fucking nuts. Because you waited 5 years. Y'all waited 5 years to get that game. Final Fantasy 7 Remake came out Easter weekend of 2020. The pandemic. That's all I did Easter weekend because we couldn't be with our families. That's literally all I did Easter weekend. I finished the whole game that weekend. Y'all waited 5 years for this game. If you only have an Xbox and you don't have a PC, or if you have a PC and you're like, no, I want it on Xbox. I want this. Y'all better buy this goddamn game. And I don't want to hear that shit about well, it ain't in Game Pass, so I ain't playing it. Dog, buy the game. Stop fucking around. Because 70,000 units sold for Final Fantasy 16 does not look good. Especially after saying, oh, fuck Square Enix. That's why they're in the trouble they're in now because they only released it on PlayStation. Y'all better show up and show the fuck out for this game. That's all I'm saying. But no, we did not get a Final Fantasy 7 Intergrade release date for the Switch 2. And then Octopath Traveler 0 also from Square Enix. That's coming to Switch and Switch 2 December 4th of 2025. And that date alone is very strange to me. I know that this is a game on a smaller scale than Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, but y'all should have an idea of when it's coming to the console, right? Because I don't even think there's an Xbox release date yet. It just said winter of 25. Did it not? Let's check. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Xbox and Switch 2 release date. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is confirmed for a winter release on both Xbox Series X and S and Nintendo Switch 2. While a specific date isn't set, winter begins on December 21st and ends on March 20th, suggesting a likely release in early 2026. The game will also include the Yuffie-focused intermission DLC. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so no date for that. No date for that yet. I don't know. That was the Nintendo Partner Direct. The only game that I could see myself playing from this Partner Direct, call me crazy, is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Now, I know that would also be available on modern consoles. The Switch 2 is a modern console. It's actually the newest. But, I mean, the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. It's not a overly taxing visual game, so I don't think it will run bad on Switch 2. I could be wrong. I prefer docked mode. Apparently the battery life is terrible in handheld. I've only played a little bit of Mario Kart World in handheld. That's about it. But yeah, for me, this was a terrible direct. I'm not even gonna lie to you. No, I take that back. So Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Octopath Traveler Zero, I'm going to check out. The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, that HD 2D adventure, that demo's available, so I'm going to check that out. A 5. 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. That's all I can give you right now. A 5 out of 10 for this Partner Direct. That's it for me. Anyway, that's all I have for you all today. I'm going to go ahead and end this like I end everything else. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson. That is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.